Alrighty, guys, welcome back to part 2 of Chalk Talk with Coach Duke. Part 1 on this channel, if you've already seen it, great. If you haven't yet, go ahead and go watch that. I highly recommend watching that before this one just to get you familiarized with the offense. We're going to go over defense now. In terms of our defense, what we're looking at is we're just going to look at the base formations. We're not going to look at any assignments quite yet. We're going to do that in a different video. Arguably next week, I think we're going to start going over actual assignments that we do for our defense. But this is just going to be base alignments that we're going to look at Thursday's practice for at least 2 of these. That way we kind of go. So just so we're aware, I'm going to set all of these against just a basic I-form offense so we can see it semi-lined up against an offense, just so I can verbalize where I want everybody to line up, okay? Something that you're going to notice offensively, my play call system. So offensively, the main tag is going to be some sort of mascot, right? Bronco, Longhorn, Deacon, like some sort of mascot on offense. And on defense, it's going to be place names. So we're going to start with our Tampa formation. We're going to live a lot in Tampa. We lived a lot in it last season. I think it's arguably the safest coverage that we have in the defensive playbook. So we'll live a lot in Tampa. It's one of our main 2 calls that I'm going to use. So we're going to go over Tampa. For those of you who know ball and for the kiddos, teaching moment. Tampa, it's based off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The defense itself is a Tampa 2. The 2 in Tampa 2 stands for a cover 2. So it's a cover 2 defense. I've modified it slightly for the youth game because there's things that you need to cover at higher levels in a Tampa 2 that you don't have to cover in the youth game. So I've modified it a little bit. Every defense we run is also a hybrid defense with a mixture of man and zone principles, but we'll get into that in a later video. I just want to show you those base alignments, okay? So let's go ahead and get started with this. So on the defensive line, what it's going to look up is we're going to have the defensive ends are going to line up on the outside shoulder of whoever's outside. So in this formation, if they're running a 7-man front, so my defensive ends are going to line up on the outside of the tight ends. That's where they're going to line up, okay? And then I want my defensive tackles to line up on the inside shoulder of the guard. Okay, so they're going to be on the inside shoulder of the guard towards here. So, or technically, I guess it would be the outside shoulder. I'm looking at it backwards. My apologies, guys. You're going to line up on the outside shoulder, okay? Obviously, my corners are going to line up with a little bit of depth because we're not going to play man coverage. So you're going to line up with a little bit of depth. And then we're going to have, so 4-3, guys. Teaching moment for my kiddos, 4-3. When you hear a 4-3, what that means, this first number is going to be the number of linemen. This second number is going to be the number of backers, okay? So in a 4-3, you're going to have 4 down, 3 back, is what 4-3 means. So 4 down right here, and then 3 back, what it's going to be is my Mike, or middle linebacker, is going to line up in the middle of the field, and then we're going to have our Sam and our Will line up. Sam to the right-hand side of the formation because a lot of teams in this league are going to run to the right-hand side. It's just a right-hand dominant league. And then my Will is going to line up to the left, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to have 2 safeties who are going to split the field on in between the Will and the Mike and the Sam and the Mike. So we're going to have our free safety and our strong safety. So that's how we're going to line up in Tampa. So corners are going to line up at depth a little bit. We're going to have our defensive ends on the outside of whatever the line is. We're going to have our defensive tackles on the outside shoulder of the guard. We're going to have our middle linebacker at depth directly over the center. We're going to bring down our Will and our Sam just a little bit, and we have our 2 safeties back. So that's going to be the lineup for Tampa. Again, one more time just so you can see it. That's going to be the Tampa formation. So this next one is going to be our other main formation that I call. We live a whole lot in this one as well as a base defensive package. So you'll be hearing this one a lot as well. This is going to be Miami. And Miami is going to be a 4-4. It's going to be a 4-4 defense. So again, learning moment for the kiddos. 4-4. Same with the 4-3. This first number right here is going to be linemen. So in a 4-4, we're going to have 4 down on the line, and 4 back as 4 linebackers. Okay? 4 down, 4 back, 4-4. Miami, 4-4. So in Miami, we're going to line up a little bit differently, okay? So in Miami, we're actually going to stick our defensive ends directly lined up, head up to the C gap, okay? So our defensive ends are going to be lined up on the outside shoulder of the tackle, but the inside shoulder of the tight end, if there's a tight end, directly lined up with the C gap. And then we're going to put our defensive tackles this time on the inside shoulder of the guard. So in Miami, defensive ends are lining up in the C gap, which is this gap right here, right? A, B, C, right? Just so y'all can see, right? A, B, C. So our defensive ends are going to line up directly in the C gap, and then our defensive tackles are going to line up on the inside shoulder of the guard, okay? Inside shoulder of the guard, directly lined up in the C gap. Corners, your assignment on this isn't going to change. You're going to be lined up at depth, just like that, lined up at depth on either side of the field, right? So we're looking 4-4, 4 down, 4 back. So there's 4 down. Now let's go over our 4 back. This will change as the season goes when we get into adjustment calls. However, how this is going to end up working is y'all are going to line up at depth, directly square shoulder behind whoever the lineman is in front of you. So it would be Will, Mike, Jack, and Sam. So there's going to be my 4 backers. And in this defense, we're going to run 1 safety. We're going to call him H. He's going to be back, okay? So again, in Miami, in our 4-4, this is how we're going to line up. Corners, same thing as Tampa. You're going to line up at depth to the outside. 1 safety back, directly head up over the center, at depth on the field. Defensive ends, you're going to line up head up to the C gap. Defensive tackles, you're going to line up on the inside shoulder of the guard. And then my backers, all 4 of you, you're going to line up directly to the back of whoever your assigned lineman is. And that is going to be the basic look for Miami, or for our 4-4 defense. So that's Miami. Now we get into a little bit of our stranger defenses that we're going to run. So the first one is going to be Vegas. Oops, wrong color. I just want to keep everything color coordinated. Vegas. So we're going to look at Vegas. And what Vegas is going to be our 5-3 pressure pack. This one's named Vegas because it's very gambly. It's very gambly, right? We'll get there eventually, but I just want you to know Vegas is going to be 5-3, meaning I'm going to have 5 down on the line, 3 back, right? So 5 down. We're going to have 5 down, 3 back, 5-3. So in the pressure pack, again, corners, you're going to do the same exact thing. You're lining up at depth, head up to whoever's there, or if no one's there, we'll get into that when we get into actual how we're going to go ahead and do things. And then our will on this, he's going to come down. Will is going to line up on the outside shoulder of whoever the edge is. So if it's a tight end, outside shoulder of the tight end. If it's the tackle, outside shoulder of the tackle. And then as we move in, I'm going to want the defensive end to line up head up with the B gap, so the inside shoulder of the tackle, outside shoulder of the guard. The other defensive tackle is going to serve as he will be head up. Oops, nope, not end. Sorry, guys. A couple mistakes in this one. He will be head up with the center, basically becoming a nose guard. This is one of the only packages where we run a nose. And then we're going to have the other defensive tackle again line up in the B gap, and we're going to have our last defensive end line up to the outside. So that's how it is. To the outside shoulder of the edge, lined up in the B gap, lined up straight over center as a nose guard, lined up in the B gap, lined up on the outside shoulder, right? When we get to above them, middle linebacker going to line up at depth, right directly behind our nose guard, with our Sam back lining up in the C gap a little bit down, and our Jack back lining up in the C gap a little bit down. And then again, we're going to run the 1 high H safety So just like that. That's going to be the Vegas pressure pack. So again, kind of going over it, corners, you're going to be at depth. Our Will and the other side defensive end on this one. The Will's going to come down from his linebacker spot. Be here on the edge. So we got outside shoulder of the edges, lined up in the B gaps, nose up on the center. Outside, B gap, lined up on the center. Middle linebacker directly over our nose guard at depth with the Sam back and Jack back lined up in their respective C gaps. So that's going to be the Vegas pressure pack. That one I call when we get them in scenarios where it's 3rd and long or 4th and long or 1st and long, or if there's a situation where I want to come screaming and I'm basically going to telegraph that I'm screaming, I'm going to put 5 down is what that is going to end up being. And then to go over our last formation that we have here is going to be our Dallas. This is going to be Dallas. Dallas is going to be a 6-2 defense. This is going to be our goal line package. This will only really ever get called when we're on the goal line. And obviously, 6-2 guys, you should know, is going to be 6 down, 2 back, right? 6 down, 2 back. So how this one is going to end up working, again, same thing for my corners. Corner, corner. And then this one is going to be pretty much my backers are going to run. So how the lineup is going to work for this on the line. Will, you're going to come down and line up outside shoulder again. Then we're going to have our defensive end lined up, head up with the C gap. We're going to have our defensive tackle line up inside shoulder of the guard. Inside shoulder of the guard. Lined up, head up with the C gap. And outside. So my Sam back and my Will back are going to come down and get on the line. So Sam and Will on the outside, C gap, and then inside shoulder of the guard is how that's going to work. My Mike back and my Jack back are going to split the middle of the field in the B gaps like that. Able to come down with our H actually coming down and almost serving as a pseudo back, but we'll get into that when we actually get into the assignments for each of these. So to go over our Dallas goal line package one more time, we're going to have our Will and our Sam rotate down from their backer spots onto the line, outside shoulder, whoever the edge is, whether it's a tight end or a tackle, you're always going to go outside shoulder. Defensive ends, you're going to line head up to the C gap. Defensive tackles, you're going to be inside shoulder of the guard. Jack and Mike, you're going to be in the middle of the field lined up directly across from the B gap. Cornerbacks, you're going to be at depth, obviously. And then H, you're going to be just a little bit behind the Mike and the Jack coming down most of the time. So that's going to be our base alignments for the defense. We'll actually get into assignments a little bit on Thursday, and then next week's video series, we will actually, I will actually in the defensive video teach 2 of them, probably the 2 we learn on Thursday. We're likely to learn Tampa and Miami in next week's video, but just to go over them again, 1, 2, 3, 4, we have Tampa, Miami, Dallas, Vegas, and those are going to be 4-3, cover 2, 4-4, the goal line pack, and the pressure pack. So that's going to be the defense at its base. Tampa, Miami, Dallas, Vegas. We'll get into adjustments, play calls, everything else as this video series progresses. But again, I want to thank y'all for watching this. I want to thank you for showing the kiddos. Kiddos, I hope you watch this as many times as you need to pick this up. Playbooks will be coming out next week before Tuesday's practice, both offensive and defenses. I will have them done before Tuesday's practice next week, not this week, unfortunately. The offensive one is taking me a little bit of time. But y'all will have those. I hope you learned something, and we will see you in next week's video series. I'll see you at practices this week and next week, and we'll keep on going. Thank you for tuning in. Coach Duke out.